There has been a growing controversy in the medical literature in recent years and months about the impact of screening tests for cancer. That would include things like mammogram and PSA tests for men for prostate cancer and colonoscopies, and tests such as pap smear for ovarian cancer. The issue is whether or not these screening tests do more good than harm. Now, for many years, Americans have been told that early detection for cancer is great, that preventative tests are good. That would seem to make a lot of sense. But some medical literature now is showing that in some instances the test actually can create harm, because if cancer is detected, that leads to invasive tests and procedures that can make harmful consequences for the recipient. And the data aren't at all clear that in all instances doing something about the cancer actually makes one better off than just letting it sit there. And also, of course, there are false positives when the tests show you have cancer when you really don't. Well, we set out to establish whether or not the American public buys into the idea that early detection is a good thing, and I would say our bottom line is the American public certainly does. The American public at this point mirrors what we've been told for many years is the conventional wisdom. You can see the wording of the question there in front of you, and I think it's important to look at exactly how we phrased it, but basically we said, is the amount of cancer tests that are being done now too frequent, not frequent enough, or about the right amount? And 58% of Americans, a clear majority, says right now is about the right amount, and another third, roughly 31%, said not enough, and only 7% of Americans at this point said these tests are being done too frequently. Again, that's a sentiment that's echoed by at least some medical professionals at this point. So the American public has a long way to go before they're convinced, apparently, that these tests are done too often. Some interesting differences by age. Among young people, overwhelmingly, they say that the tests are either done about right or not frequently enough. Over half of 18 to 29 say we need to do the test more often. Older Americans, 65 pluses, those that clearly are more likely to have been exposed to cancer tests by themselves or by friends and relatives, are much more likely to say about right. What about education? Maybe those with postgraduate degrees are more likely to be acquainted with the new literature and say tests are done too frequently. Well, that's not the case. 8% of those with postgraduate education say the tests are done too frequently. You can look at those with high school educations or less, and you can see the data are a little more along the lines of the tests aren't done frequently enough. All in all, the data are clear. Americans at this point, that is the average American, says that cancer screening tests are done at about the right frequency, or that they need to be done more often rather than less often. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup's Editor-in-Chief.